Well, welcome everyone. My name is Joanna Salinas. I am the Outreach Coordinator with the Waukesha County Green Team. For those of you who are new to us, we are a volunteer-based nonprofit organization. We're focused on promoting environmental sustainability in Waukesha County communities, and we do that through education, collaboration, and local action. So with that, we work with residents, businesses, schools, municipalities, and organizations. And we're excited to gather all of you here today for this great presentation on utilizing urban wood. So this webinar is part of our Municipal Guide to Sustainable Planning, which is a tool to assist communities with incorporating actionable elements of sustainability into their ongoing processes and municipal business planning. So as I said before, we're recording today's webinar, so we just ask that you stay muted so that you're not recorded. So as we're going through this presentation, any and all questions you have as you think of them, feel free to drop right into the chat. And then at the end, we'll have plenty of time for some questions and answers. And before I forget, we have a very neat raffle today that was donated by our presenter, Dwayne, which is a folding fano pruning saw that has an urban wood handle. And I'm just going to admit a few more folks here. So at the end of the webinar, I'm going to pick a name from everybody who is here in attendance. If you have to hop off of the webinar early, just the fact that you were here, I will enter your name into that raffle. And then Dwayne will reach out to work on getting the saw to you. So, all right, so today we are excited to welcome Dwayne Sperber, who is not only president of Woodward Urban Forest Products, and he's on the board of the Waukesha County Green Team, but he's also a founding member of the Urban Wood Network and a formerly appointed member of the Wisconsin Urban Forestry Council. So Dwayne's work highlights the environmental, economic, and cultural benefits of transforming trees that are removed from our communities into long-lasting products. I believe that's just the definition of sustainability, Dwayne, is that environmental, economic, and cultural benefits where those meet. So I love that so much. And his work also celebrates that full life cycle of trees. And then here with Dwayne is Elton Rogers, who is the Wisconsin DNR Forestry Coordinator. Thank you for being here, both of you. So without further ado, I am going to hand this over to Dwayne. Welcome, Dwayne.
Well, thank you, Joanna, very much. And you can hear me okay, I hope.
Yes, you sound great, and we see the screen.
Okay. Well, today we will discuss how the growing urban wood industry is creating and expanding opportunities for urban and community trees to achieve their highest and best use through urban wood products. And from my observation over the years, urban forestry is certainly still evolving, and it's expanding its scope and being reframed in new ways, moving far beyond tree planting and maintenance. It now integrates with climate resilience and heat mitigation, public health and mental well-being, social equity and environmental justice, green infrastructure and stormwater management, and urban wood utilization and creating circular economies. Now, many people don't realize that the trees growing along our streets and in our parks and around our buildings are part of an intentionally managed forest, an urban forest. Because of that, there's often a disconnect between people and these living systems, and even greater distance from the wood products they can become. Because when urban trees reach the end of their life, they are often treated as waste instead of recognized as a renewable resource with beauty, story, and purpose. Around 2003, many of you will remember that the Emerald Ash Borer made its intentions clear here in the Midwest, devastating what has become millions of ash trees lost across the United States. Here in the Milwaukee region, this became a familiar sight, and it seems the disconnect I mentioned just a moment ago narrowed. many became very aware of the benefits, of the value of urban and community trees, sadly, once they were gone. The arrival of the emerald ash borer greatly increased the volume of material entering the waste stream, amplifying costs beyond those associated with the normal life cycle of urban tree removals. As municipalities were developing their response plans to the emerald ash borer, some in the private sector were developing their own response. And perhaps it was someone at a town meeting who raised their hand and asked, couldn't we use all of these trees? Well, that simple inquiry became a mission statement of sorts and the very beginning of an urban wood industry. Fueling this good idea was the U.S. Forest Service, who reported that if recovered and repurposed, wood from our country's urban and community forests could produce nearly 8 billion board feet of lumber each year. Well, as a result, public and private efforts emerged to capture and divert this material from the waste stream to higher uses, namely lumber, urban lumber. It was around 2007 here in the Milwaukee region when I observed that there was a growing number of garages and barns and warehouses filling up with this urban lumber, ash or otherwise. What a great idea to utilize an otherwise wasted resource. Few could argue the wisdom behind this idea. And this was all happening during a time when architects and others who influenced the built environment had a growing interest in sustainable design and construction, and they were looking for more sustainable building materials. But having a good idea isn't always enough. It's how ideas are implemented that counts in the long run. And these early noble efforts, these pioneers really learned that for more than 100 years, we've graded, specified, and sourced lumber pretty much the same way. And that consistency is a good thing. It's given us reliable standards that make wood easy to specify and buy. But because of that, it's also become so familiar that it's rarely even considered in the design phase. By the time you're at that point of purchase, everyone knows what to expect. It's all very standardized, very predictable. Now we've identified what's essentially a new kind of wood, one that is controlled in every way by nature. Its appearance, its availability, even the species we see, all driven by what's happening in our communities and in our urban and community forest. So the traditional way of grading, specifying, and sourcing doesn't always fit. For designers, builders, and even consumers, this can be unfamiliar territory. It asks us to think differently about how we choose and use wood. This wood, this urban wood, still meets the same needs as traditional lumber, but its real value goes beyond that. It carries environmental, community, and aesthetic benefits that connect our built spaces back to the forest they come from, the urban forest. That's the story we need to tell. So when a municipality, a municipal urban forestry program, when they explore opportunities to capture the full worth of the trees they remove, there are some seemingly fundamental points that are helpful to know and consider. So please bear with me as I go through what's really kind of a brief Business 101 course. So this will be very fundamental, but I feel it is very important. So when a municipal urban forestry program commits to removing trees with a higher end use in mind, their success is ultimately reliant on consumer understanding and demand for urban wood products. Sawmills interested and committed to processing these less than traditional urban logs into lumber are reliant on a relatively steady supply of urban logs. This is reliant on a network of informed and committed public arborists and consumer understanding and demand for urban wood products. Manufacturers who are interested and committed to incorporating urban wood into their product lines are reliant on that source of urban lumber. And this requires a sawmill committed to processing these less than traditional urban community logs, alignment with municipal arborists as a source of logs, and consumer understanding and demand for urban wood products. I skipped one here. So architects and others who influence the built environment who are committed to specifying urban wood in their specifying urban wood products are reliant on those manufacturers who are committed to utilizing urban wood, and they are reliant on sawmills committed to processing urban logs, and they're reliant on municipal arborists committed to removing urban community trees with the highest use in mind. And consumer understanding and demand for urban wood products is also a requirement. And in the end, consumers will not demand urban forest products if all of these things are not aligned and working together. So even if we have great vision and wonderful ideas and commitment around promoting urban wood, unless we anchor those ideas in viable processes, partnerships, and execution pathways, they risk never realizing impact. And that's what was happening for a decade, the decade that followed the arrival of the emerald ash borer. Public and private responses that were centered on the idea to utilize removed urban and community trees were short-lived because these necessary pathways were not connected. But those who endured that decade that followed the emerald ash borer responded. And Wisconsin's early leadership helped inspire the formation of the Urban Wood Network. The Urban Wood Network, or UWN, is a national nonprofit organization dedicated to advancing the sustainable recovery and the highest and best use for wood from urban and community trees. Its mission is to connect, collaborate, and build capacity along all parts of the urban wood supply chain, from municipalities and arborists to sawyers, manufacturers, architects, and designers, so that more of the wood from necessary tree removals is used for its highest value instead of being considered a liability. The Urban Wood Network grew out of regional collaborations in the Midwest, including Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, and Missouri. And we formally incorporated as Urban Wood Network, Inc. to coordinate efforts across North America. But just don't take my word for it. The formation of the Urban Wood Network was funded by the U.S. Forest Service, who continues to fund and support our mission. In fact, the Urban Wood Network just developed our basically our first marketing assets for our members, which were funded by the U.S. Forest Service. Cal Fire funded the development of USRW certified urban wood, the first of its kind in the United States, or perhaps the world. This is the standard and certification that ensures that products with the USRW label are quality products that have been sourced and processed following environmental and socially responsible practices. And this certification is only available to Urban Wood Network members. And my company, along with others across the country, are currently piloting this certification before the official launch next year in 2026. And to share a little bit more about how our own Wisconsin DNR is supportive of urban wood, I'm very happy to turn this over to Elton for his presentation. Elton?
Thanks, Dwayne. I was having a little bit of audio issues, but I think you can hear me all right.
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. So as was mentioned, my name is Elton Rogers. I am the Urban Forestry Coordinator for Southeastern Wisconsin. But I'm really here today kind of representing our entire urban forestry team, which has a presence throughout the entire state of Wisconsin. And you can go to the next slide there, Dwayne. So I guess first and foremost, I want to start out by just saying that, we here at the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Urban Forestry team, we fully support, urban wood utilization within our communities. So this slide that you're looking at right now is actually just a screenshot from the 2020 State Forest Action Plan. And as you can see under that, goal number 5, we've clearly identified that promoting the use of urban wood is a priority. And some language, directly from that Forest Action Plan says, as trees continue to be removed and from urban and community forests due to insects, diseases, old age, and other factors, there is a real opportunity to utilize these materials to their highest and best use. And we here within the urban forestry team recognize that that highest use or that best use will look potentially very different depending on the community, size of community, capacity, funding, et cetera. But we are here as the urban forestry team to help you identify, what that goal is, and then support you in achieving that goal. Next slide there, Dwayne. So I guess the next logical question then is, how can we support the communities and the other organizations, nonprofits, and tribes in utilizing and supporting urban wood reutilization? And so I've got just 3 examples that I want to highlight today. Certainly there's more, but I think these are probably the 3 main ones at least. And the first one is through funding. So we have our regular grant program. These are annual competitive cost share grants of up to $25,000. Any city, town, village, or county is eligible, as long as 501c3 nonprofits and tribal organizations. And these grants are currently being used and have been used in the past for several different types of urban wood projects. So these have ranged from things like information, education, and outreach campaigns to help promote, the benefits of urban wood utilization to the general public, to supporting specific nonprofits looking to build urban wood networks, to creating real or solving real logistical problems like trial programs to help communities transport the wood and process the urban wood that's being removed from their communities. In addition to funding, kind of a second way that we can help your community or your organization figure out what your role is in urban wood utilization is through the Tree City USA program. And if you're not familiar with the Tree City USA program, essentially it's a community's commitment to a baseline or benchmark amount of funding and support within their community for trees. In addition to kind of that benchmark Tree City USA program or status, there's also these growth awards. And growth awards are ways for communities to be recognized for demonstrating a higher level of tree care and community engagement within a calendar year. So many of our communities that are already Tree City USA have Tree City USA status will apply for these growth awards on a really regular basis, sometimes year after year after year. And one of the ways that your community or a community that you support can receive a growth award is by committing to the recycling and reuse of the tree debris that's removed from your community. So there's kind of a point system that's involved in that, but activities could include something really simple like repurposing the wood as a park bench or providing wood chips to the community. And then there's certainly some higher goals that have more points that look at things like conversion of the wood to high quality end products such as furniture and lumber. And then finally, the last way that I want to kind of point out the ways we can support urban wood within your community or organization is we have a really intensive urban forest monitoring and analysis program. And what this means is we have a variety of techniques such as aerial imagery, the collection and curation of street tree and park tree data, as well as plot-based urban forest assessments. And essentially what we're trying to do is take all of this data and quantify the urban forest for the communities and organizations that we serve. So for instance, we could theoretically estimate what percent of each tree species is within your community. But we could take it a step further and we could look at attributes such as size and health of those trees. So for instance, if you were a community or perhaps in a region and you were wondering, okay, what trees will we have most likely be removing over the next 5 to 10 years. We could filter out, okay, you have 40% of this species, and within that 40%, 80% of those trees are 30 inches and bigger. And of course, that could help you kind of estimate what type of wood waste you're going to be dealing with over the next decade or so, and what that best use of that wood waste might be going forward. And of course, these, as I mentioned, are just kind of 3 examples. There's other ways that we can support communities and organizations. There's the Green Tier program. We have opportunities for partnership and collaboration, such as our annual conference, regional networking groups, newsletters, and a lot more. You can go ahead to the last of my slides there, Dwayne. So this is just a map. Again, just to reiterate, so Elton Rogers, that's who I am. I am the Southeast coordinator, but we do have coordinators throughout the entire state of Wisconsin. On the last slide of the presentation today will be my contact information. So feel free to reach out to me. I highly suggest that if you're interested in a process to better utilize your wood waste within your community, reach out to me or your specific coordinator, and we can help connect you with various partners and guide you in applying for DNR grant money, provide technical advice, and probably one of the best things we can do is link you up with fellow communities that have already done some of these trial projects and have had success in utilizing their wood waste before. So with that, I just want to reiterate, thanks, Dwayne, for inviting me today, and thanks for the Waukesha County Green Team. I'll stick on for questions if there are any at the end, but for now, I'll pass it back to you, Dwayne.
Well, thank you, Elton. That was wonderful. The DNR truly is a wonderful resource that I hope all of us are utilizing more and more. So to kind of get down to the nuts and bolts of the presentation, so what does a successful municipal urban wood program look like? Well, we'll begin here with a model that I've been involved with since around 2010. This community is committed to removing trees, as you see here. Not all trees can be removed this way, but when they can, this community takes full advantage of it. Quite simply, one crew removes the canopy and a second crew removes the remainder, keeping portions as long as is safe and practical. And I really want to say that. You'll learn later on in this presentation that we take what nature gives us and utilizes it. We don't require that logs be 8 foot 6 inch long portions. So we will take what nature gives us, and again, whatever is safe and practical for the removers as well as the community around them. This city has the equipment to then load these longer portions into their own city vehicles, as you see here. And as cumbersome as it may seem, this community will then offload this material into these 30 cubic yard containers, there are these containers in multiple municipal yards here. And this material is then delivered by the carrier, by the container owner. The container company delivers it to the sawmill. And while this appears extravagant and costly, this process actually cut the city's related disposal costs by 50%. And this is a glimpse of the sawmill that I work with. And this is what we receive. So we focus on providing a helpful service first. You heard me say just a second ago, we're not necessarily particular. We know that the priority is to remove a tree safely and efficiently. And we can receive the entire production of a tree removal, including the chips and the brush. We have no length or diameter requirements, but we certainly encourage leaving logs as long as possible. And mixed loads like what you see here are accepted, which also increases the efficiency in service to a community to get us that material. A pretty simple way to say it is that we'll receive anything that you don't want to chip. However, we do accept chips. And 2025 marks the first year that we do receive chips. The United States Forest Service recognizes the need for our industry to manage the entire tree, not just the pretty parts, not just the 8 foot 6 and longer logs. And they helped us develop the right equipment to create what you see here. And this happens to be animal bedding from the debris that comes from a tree removal. And the end product goes on to serve the dairy industry. And when a community commits to bringing all material to our yard, not just, not cherry-picked loads. If we receive the entire production, they can offload it at our facility at no cost. However, material must be brought to our yard at the expense of the municipality. And that might seem a backward way of doing something, giving away a resource. However, that is our investment in your urban forest, that we then take on that risk and investment to seek the best uses for that product. So it is a true partnership. And providing this service incentivizes communities to keep their logs as long as possible and direct them to a sawmill rather than a landfill or automatically chipping material. And this practice has proven to reduce cost, increase efficiencies, and certainly provides economic, environmental, and social benefits to their community and beyond. Not to mention less wear and tear on a community's equipment and the people that work in urban forestry for that community, the wear and tear on bodies, the wear and tear on people. And this unruly stack of logs that you see here produces lumber, urban lumber. And this stack of lumber looks like any other stack of lumber that you'd see at a traditional hardwood supplier. It was milled and dried to the same standards that you expect, that markets expect. The only difference is the origin. The only difference is the path it took from seed to board. And keep in mind that this stack of lumber would not exist unless an urban forestry program committed to working with partners to extend the benefits of trees into their communities through standardized urban wood products. And this is an example of a smaller community. When this community has trees scheduled for removal, they will alert Urban Wood Network members about the time and date and location of these trees. And with an agreed amount of time and a process finalized and agreed upon with both parties, the trees can be tagged and be left, as you see here, and picked up within a certain and agreed upon time period and process by Urban Wood Network members. And that's the beauty of our network, because every tree has some value to someone, or most trees can have value to certain makers. But the important part here is that this wood is feeding a material stream, a known and standardized material stream. And many times my company that produces urban lumber in higher volume needs to supplement our inventory. And with the use of our network, I can reach out to these smaller producers to help satisfy demands for orders. And this photo can represent a community that stockpiles logs in their yard, in their city-owned yard, and allows access to Urban Wood Network members to pick them up with an approved agreement and process. And so this is a municipality, or can represent a municipality, who again will be committed to finding a higher use for this material. In large and small communities both, with high volume removal scheduled in parks or a golf course, for example, can plan ahead and have on-site containers in place. So it takes a little bit, now that you know that utilization can be a viable option for you. This container has served our industry well for about a decade, this container model. And these containers can be positioned strategically, really creating some efficiencies that material can simply be loaded and then sent to a sawmill, and you wipe your hands of it. You're rid of this material knowing that it's, well, going to a good home and to a good place. And your community can develop the right plan that fits your capacity. The key to your plan at being successful is working with partners who are committed to building a standardized material stream, such as the Urban Wood Network. And there are other partners out there that support municipal urban wood programs. And one of those includes, of all things, the American Institute of Architects. I'm very excited about this because one of their initiatives, one of AIA's initiatives, is their materials pledge. And this materials pledge encourages architects and designers to give careful thought to the materials they select to not only protect, but to improve the health of people and planet. Urban wood products meet and satisfy each of the 5 AIA priorities, making it a top choice for building and interior finishes. And you will notice how these pledges are aligned with sustainable urban and community forest management. So I'm going to go through their pledges. There are a few of them here real quick. One of the pledges supports human health, and urban wood supports human health when architects prefer products that support and foster life throughout their life cycles and seeks to eliminate the use of hazardous substances. I think that aligns perfectly with the goals of sustainable urban forestry. And this is actually, the wood you see here is indeed urban wood used in this SSM Health Clinic that's in Madison. And my company was contacted to help orchestrate the removal of we didn't remove them, but they removed about 20 specimen walnut trees to build this clinic. And I was contacted to help coordinate the processing of those logs and returning product back into this building. And as the DNR says and supports, well, good health grows on trees. So I think it's very significant and absolutely cool that this healthcare facility is incorporating the very healthful qualities of wood, and especially urban wood, back into their clinic. And this is a shot of the outside of the clinic, which indeed it either still is or certainly was designated at one time as the most sustainable clinic of its kind in the United States. So this is SSM Health on Fish Hatchery Road in Madison. So ecosystem health is one of the AIA pledges, and urban wood supports ecosystem health when architects prefer products that support and regenerate the natural air, water, and biological cycles of life. Again, that parallels perfectly with the goals of sustainable urban and community forestry. And this is urban ash. This is a library out in Madison. And the ceiling system used here is is branded as an Armstrong ceiling grid system. And this was the first time that solid wood, and especially solid urban wood, was utilized in the application. And the ceiling is absolutely beautiful. And here are other applications throughout the library. All the bookshelf bookends are in urban wood as well. And it's a beautiful application and a beautiful example of how trees and wood otherwise wasted can be utilized in a functional and beautiful way. And I'm going to spend a little time with a couple of photos here. One of AIA's initiative is climate health. And urban wood supports climate health when architects prefer products that reduce carbon emissions and ultimately sequester more carbon than emitted. Well, as you all know, that perfectly aligns with sustainable urban and community forestry. And you know, the urban forest does not produce a lot of long logs, but we are committed to maximizing all material, and shorter material can be used, as in this example, as stair treads, for example. And by keeping a log as lumber rather than chipping it, and I do understand that chipping sometimes is the best option, but rather than chipping it, the wood continues to store carbon for the life of the board and whatever it becomes a part of. And here's an example. This is at the sawmill. These are maple logs that are just under 5 feet long. And our circle mill, we use a traditional circle mill, has been modified to be able to mill these shorter logs, further kind of demonstrating our commitment to this resource. And these logs produce lumber for tabletops that were about that long for a regional senior living facility. So these became tabletops that are continuing to serve the community and further connecting them to the essential qualities of our urban and community forest. Another great example and use for random length lumber, it's perfect for the flooring industry, as seen in this beautiful ash floor. And if you could see this floor, I mean, God created the wood, but it is indeed beautiful. And this flooring was produced like any other commercial flooring you see out there on the market. It just happens to be its unique and beautiful and beneficial origin of an urban and community forest is where this floor came from. And this wood could have very easily been discarded, but we can see here its beautiful applications. And this is something that has been about a 5-year pursuit for my company and many other companies. This manufacturer is committed to utilizing urban wood in multiple lines of furniture that they carry. And what's significant about this is that these manufacturers are committed now to designing furniture around the wood available rather than vice versa, meaning they are aware of the characteristics of urban wood and committed to thinking differently about the materials they use. And you can see here that there are many 2 and 3 foot lengths of wood used in this piece. Well, the urban forest can produce a lot of these shorter materials, which further reduces waste for this company, and it maximizes our urban and community, or the wood that comes from our urban and community trees. And this is my favorite of the AIA material pledge, is social health and equity. And urban wood supports social health and equity when architects prefer products from manufacturers that positively impact the communities where they operate. Your role, if you're involved, I believe many of the audience is involved in urban and community forestry in some capacity. You're definitely positively impacting your communities with your role. And urban wood is certainly a partner in that to further benefit your communities by processing this wood. And this would happen to, this is the Pfizer Forum. I don't remember the year that this opened, maybe 2018, 2019, but urban wood was officially specified for use throughout the Baird Center. So when you're there, look at the ceilings and look at the concession store, the concession fronts of the counters is all in urban wood. Some of the furniture, it is used throughout this facility. And here is another example of how urban wood was used in the Baird Center. And nearing the end here, this is an image of the $450 million newly expanded Baird Center in Milwaukee. And the Baird Center incorporated many key sustainability features that support energy efficiency, water conservation, material reuse, and indoor environmental quality. And for example, 90% of the roughly 6,000 tons of steel used was recycled. And one of the most popular features that greets the more than 400,000 annual visitors to the Baird Center each year is the Urban Ash Collaborative Stair. And here visitors can connect with the urban forests that you manage, building awareness and connection to the important work you do to manage our essential urban and community forest. And this image serves as an example of confronting a vision together with everybody around the table, so to speak. And each person here is connected through signage and just experience that this wood came and was considered for its higher use in the community of where they are sitting. And when we're all at the same table, again, kind of conquering a vision together, this will lead to smarter and more sustainable solutions. So please reach out to your Wisconsin DNR to learn more. Please reach out to myself and the Urban Wood Network to learn more, because we are here to assist you and help you reach success in your management of your very important urban and community forest. So that concludes the presentation, and I believe Joanna might take over and see if we have any questions to answer before we have our raffle.
Yeah, absolutely. So any questions that you can think of that you have, please feel free to drop them right in the chat. I know we did have one come in from Virginia that Elton answered in the chat. And if you came in a bit late, sometimes those chats are dependent upon the time you're here. So the question was, where can we find a list of communities and grants under the DNR program? And Elton answered that it's at the bottom of the grants page. You can see previous grant awardees and provided a link to that, as well as provided a link to the newsletter. And you can grab those off of the chat, but also I will follow up with an email after this with a recording of this program, as well as those links. So they will all be there.
And I'll just chime in real quick, Joanna,
Yeah.
just so you're aware. So those are from the last 2 years. And those are all the grants that were awarded, not necessarily ones that dealt specifically with urban wood. If you were interested in like compiling, grants that have been used specifically for urban wood, we can go much further back and pull those out for anyone that's interested. So just contact me and I can get that information to you.
Okay. Great, thank you. Dwayne, a couple other questions have come in for you. So the first question is, can you accept diseased trees?
Well, yes. And, the emerald ash borer, we've been through a lot, related to the emerald ash borer, and now, the quarantines are no longer, but yes, we will accept that wood. And the emerald ash borer did not damage the core of the tree. It did most of its damage on the outer edges. And Elton could give you the $20 word of what that outer edge is called. But no, a lot of that wood is still viable, and it can be used for lower value products as well. Yes.
Great. And Virginia's wondering if you know which or some of the Waukesha area communities that have contributed to urban wood recycle projects.
Can you say that again? In Waukesha County?
Yes. So are there specific communities in Waukesha County that are currently
Yes.
working with urban wood?
Yes. Actually, the city of Waukesha is. And Waukesha County, I believe Parks, was involved in a Wisconsin DNR urban forestry grant related to urban wood. We have Brookfield. I don't know, is West Allis in Waukesha County? West Allis?
No, but certainly in southeastern Wisconsin. So
yeah, very much so. And other municipalities will come to us as needed. There are some formal agreements where this is set up, but mostly we provide a drop zone as needed. But yes, this is something that I was going to add to, especially Elton talking about the grants. The very first urban wood network in the United States was here in Wisconsin, and this was founded in 2012 or so through a Wisconsin DNR urban forestry grant. So I wanted to kind of wave the DNR flag that they kind of got this industry started here in Wisconsin. But yeah, we have a growing number of municipalities who are bringing us material. It just needs to happen more often.
Yeah. And then could you, since you're on the topic of the Urban Wood Network, could you talk about the Urban Wood Network briefly? If folks wanted to connect with Urban Wood Network members, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, we do have a website, urbanwoodnetwork.org, urbanwoodnetwork.org. And our Wisconsin, and we are developing chapters across the country. So in Wisconsin, we are UWN Wisconsin chapter. And on that website, you can find every sector of the industry involved. It could be an arborist, it could be a sawmill, it could be a product producer, it could be a municipality, are listed on this website. And of course, if you're finding difficulty doing so, certainly reach out to me. I'm very active at a national level as well as a state level, and can get you to the right people if I cannot help you directly. But the Urban Wood Network basically exists to make this easy, to make it an easy decision. But as I said throughout the process, it is about building a material stream. And this isn't to say that there can be one-off successes in communities. You may already be utilizing your wood for your stake beds on your trucks or your trailer beds or things like that. I think that is wonderful. But I think that I'd like to remind folks that this presentation was considering the greater amount of wood that is out there. And so the work that I do is hyper focused on this permeating our culture one day, that every community will have and should have a higher use destination in mind for the trees they remove. And to do that, we need an industry behind us that has those standards that I talk so much about. But that's not to say that there can be one-off successes along the way.
Dwayne, are you aware of any municipalities that have started their own mill to sell or to contribute to the community?
Long ago, and I cannot speak accurately about it, I believe it might have been West Bend who actually purchased a sawmill and is producing lumber and making it available to the community. I think that is a very, and I don't know if they still do that, but there are communities that are doing that. And again, they can find success in doing that. And I think that is all wonderful. And we are, though, an architect. This is not to be critical of those wonderful plans, but those who specify materials for projects like Pfizer Forum, like the Baird Center, may be more leery of wood coming from a municipality without assurances that it has been milled and kiln dried to industry standards that they are used to. That's not to say that they're not, but I'm just saying that our main goal is to create this new material stream of urban lumber, which is why we are creating those standards and certifications. So if you are a community who wants to go into the sawmill business and produce lumber, there is great benefit in joining and connecting with the Urban Wood Network so that you can carry those standards and perhaps learn those standards and learn the processes, or certainly support them so that lumber can be confidently available from consumer to architect to manufacturer. That's what will make this sustainable.
Excellent. And then this is the last question that I have. So if anyone has any additional questions, feel free to drop it in the chat now. But for both Dwayne and Elton, if you were a smaller community and you wanted to create an urban wood utilization plan, what type of resources might be available out there for you to help in creating a plan? Like, where do you start?
Well, I'm sure Elton has something to say about that, but I would have to say to reach out to the Urban Wood Network. We've done this for, many of our members have been around for 20 plus years and have experienced every level of capacity, every size of community in doing so. But I believe I'm just going to be a broken record. Where you start, to me, no matter the amount of trees that you have available in your, or that you remove in your communities, the key is entering that material to this known material stream. And where you start is connecting. If you don't want to buy a sawmill, you can find someone who owns a sawmill that you can work with. If you don't know what to do with the lumber, you can either divert logs, work with them. Do you have the capacity to load logs into trucks, or does someone who wants those logs need to bring their own equipment to load? So what is your capacity to handle logs? What is your capacity to store logs? And who are you connected to that will have a use for those logs? And all of those answers exist with the Urban Wood Network. And as far as the DNR, our information is listed on their site as well, but Elton and others may have other options for you. The DNR cannot outright endorse the Urban Wood Network, but they can endorse that utilizing urban wood is good. So Elton may have other resources to share with you.
Yeah, I'll just say, and I'll drop it in the chat as well. In addition to those regular grants that I talked about, those $25,000 grants, we do have what's called our startup grants. And so typically these are geared more towards, not always, but more towards smaller communities. Those are $5,000 grants, and a community can apply and receive those grants for up to 3 years in a row. And so one thing that I'll just say, like one plug, is we really promote utilizing those startup grants to do. It could be a one-off project, but then typically some sort of inventory or management plan. So it's really hard to understand what type of end product you could be producing with your urban wood if you don't know what kind of trees you're managing in the first place. So getting those street trees and those park trees inventoried, understanding what size of trees you have and what condition they're in, can really go a long way to formulating some sort of plan, not only for managing those trees while they're alive, but then also after they're removed. And so I'll throw that additional link to the startup grants in the chat.
That's wonderful, Elton. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, if there are not any other questions, I have put everybody who came today, except for myself, Dwayne, and Elton. Sorry, Elton. I put all of our names in here. So I'm going to draw a name for the winner of our raffle item, which
Joanna,
is this. Yes.
Can I say a few words about this real quick?
Yes.
Yeah, this will just take me a second, but I was going to share with the group here that for more than 100 years, the Fano Saw Works has been a leading manufacturer of pruning saws. And in collaboration with Woodward Urban Forest Products, Fano Saw Works has produced a series of their number 2 8.5 folding saw with urban wood handles. And they're exploring other saws in their product line to incorporate urban wood, which is a very positive thing in building that bridge between our industries. Urban Forest Products and those who care for our trees. So along with Waukesha County Green Team, Woodward Urban Forest Products is excited to raffle one of these saws to a webinar participant today. And Joanna, you were about to make that happen.
I was. All right, here we go. So you can all see me draw. All right, we have the lucky winner is Molly. Molly. So Molly, if you're on, congratulations. If you could drop your contact info in the chat to Dwayne. Otherwise, I probably have it in the registration as well. So that would be great. And we will get this to you. So, all right. Well, thank you all for attending today. I will work up the recording of this webinar from today, compile the resources from Dwayne and Elton, and send out an email shortly. So, all right.
Thank you, everybody, for your time today. Elton, thank you for joining. Joanna, thank you for your coordination, and congratulations to Molly. And I look forward to figuring out a way to get this humble little saw to you.
All right. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Very welcome.